I don't find the Source Engine scary. If you look at Source Engine content on YouTube recently, you'll notice that a lot of people are talking about how unnerving it is, and how spooky all the maps are, and all these Redditors going, "Oh, liminal spaces." I don't know if it's just the amount of time that I've spent with the Source Engine, with games like Garrys Mod, Half-Life 2, and various other fan projects that aren't really official games, but I really don't find it all that creepy. But you know what is creepy? Zombies. Starting us off here, we have a game that has both zombie and source in the name. And panic, because why not? Zombie Panic Source is the sequel to a game called Zombie Panic made in the Gold Source engine. Who'da thunk it? The entire premise of the game is that it's team-based, with the human team trying to complete the map objective or just survive until the timer runs out, where the zombie team's objective is to kill them. The atmosphere of the game itself is not exactly what I would call horror or scary. It's kind of goofy in some aspects. A lot of the survivor characters have some pretty funny voice lines that don't really set the right atmosphere for horror. And on top of that, it's a multiplayer game in the Source engine, so you can guess the kind of community that it has.
Shut up.
What?
Shut up. Shut up.
Shut the fuck up.
Shut the fuck up.
Shut the fuck
Shut
up.
the fuck up.
Shut
Shut the fuck up.
Playing as the survivors is pretty simple. You run around, you loot stuff, you barricade doors and windows if you can, and if you're doing an objective map, then you try to, complete the objective. Unless I'm playing with you, because if I am, apparently you have to go AFK or feed yourself to the zombies. The zombie gameplay is even simpler than the survivors, because the zombies don't have any kind of special weapons. All they have are their claws and a general idea of where people are. Your zombie gameplay usually consists of three things: wandering around, wondering where on earth everyone could be, destroying their barricades, doors, and other things to keep you from them, and sometimes hitting and killing them. Overall, I recommend the game. I mean, it's pretty simple and it's free on Steam, so the only thing stopping you is finding a server with people in it. I wish there's more I could talk about with this game, but compared to everything else on my list, there's just not as much content or history with the game. Speaking of stuff on my list, Codename Cure is a game that I have a good bit of nostalgia for. I picked it up with a friend back in 2017. The objective of each map is pretty simple. Fight your way through the hordes of zombies, get to the objective, blow it up, and leave without further explanation. Unlike the previous game, there are no human zombies. Throughout your adventure on each map, you're going to be running into three different types of zombies: walkers, runners, and dead soldiers, who, I swear to God, take a whole mag to kill on the easiest difficulty. You're going to be shooting a lot of things in this game, so luckily the guns are fine. They're nothing to write home about, but,
65 round freaking Galil.
One thing I will say about the game's guns is that they are realistically loud. I'm not exaggerating, I mean loud. You may mistake gameplay for an attack on your residence. Besides that, the melee combat in the game is pretty fun, which is not something I can say for all the games on this list. There's not a whole lot else to talk about with this game. It's very similar to that other game where you fight hordes of zombies, Left to Die or something like that. Final verdict? Try it. Free on Steam. You like bread? Me too. Speaking of segues, Brain Bread 2 is a strange game. I don't really understand it, but I've been playing it since 2016. The game consists of 4 game modes: Arena, Objective, Deathmatch, and Elimination. Deathmatch is what you'd expect. It's humans shooting other humans with guns. Arena has you fighting large hordes of zombies. Elimination is like Arena, but you have humans also playing on the zombie team. And you're never going to believe this one. In Objective, you complete objectives. Like some of the other games on this list, this game isn't really trying to be all scary. It has some funny voice lines in it, some funny scenarios. On top of that, the game has an entire RPG skill system. I'm not kidding, the more you play this game, the more you level up your character, like it's World of Warcraft. Movement is pretty fast, but instead of a sprint, you have a slide. The guns feel really good, the sound design's really good. In my opinion, the Objective game mode is the most fun, but as with most things on this list, if you don't have people to play it with, it gets kinda boring kinda quick. Also, the game's infection mechanic makes it a bit infuriating to play single player in Objective. You see, anytime you're hit by a zombie, you have the chance to become infected, and then a countdown begins. Once that countdown reaches 0, you become a zombie and then have to attack remaining survivors. However, if you're playing single player, there are no remaining survivors. So you just kinda lose. Not really a fault of the game, but more of a fault of playing a game designed for multiplayer and single player. Just felt it was worth mentioning because that was most of my experience with the game back in the day. Overall, I think if you're going to download this game from Steam, get some friends to play it with you. It's a lot more fun that way. And remember, if you get infected, try not to spread that contagion. Oh hey, speaking of which, Contagion is easily my second favorite game on this list. Compared to a lot of the other games on this list, a lot of people apparently thought that this wasn't a Source game and it was made in Unreal or something else like that. I bought this game back in 2014 and it is held up very nicely. This game also has a whopping 6 game modes. Escape is your common objective mode. Get from point A to point B, don't die. Extraction has you holding out with a group of AI survivors and then escorting them to an extraction zone. Hunted is deathmatch with zombies in between you. Flatline is a horde-based mode where you buy upgrades and guns and survive as long as possible. Panic Objective and Panic Survival are very similar in the fact that they are just your average survival and objective mode. However, when people die, they respawn as zombies. You know, I really can't imagine why it's called Panic. In my opinion, Contagion is an absolute 9.5, and I really recommend you give it a try. However, unlike everything else that I've covered in this list, this game actually costs money. It's $10, but I still recommend it. I mean, the game has a pretty alright melee system, if anything. You want to know what game doesn't? Let's go ahead and open this.
Yeah, go ahead.
Dude, what the frick? Where is this thing hitting?
It's hitting slightly above.
No More Room in Hell is a very interesting game. The first thing you might notice is that the game is about as slow as Zomboid. Don't get me wrong, that's certainly not a bad thing. It really just makes the game a lot different from the other things on this list. This game is also rather difficult. Zombies can sometimes grab and bite you, which causes zone problems, but then you have to worry about 5 other zombies coming up to rip you to shreds. And if someone in your party gets bit and doesn't tell you, they're gonna become a zombie and you might not even realize it. One of the game's cooler features is how the maps work. Some parts of it are randomly generated, so you can start one game and some door may be open, then you die, respawn, and that door's now closed. Usually games go 2 ways. Option A is during your gear phase, you get some pretty good stuff at the very beginning. You know, you grab your pistols, you grab maybe even a rifle, some nice melee weapons, and you head out on your journey. On your journey, you don't run into too many scenarios where you have to actually use your gun, and you're able to pretty easily walk through the map and get to the exit. Option B, however, is everything goes wrong and everyone dies. Matches can go many different ways in this game, and it is pretty fun to see. I think the thing that turns a lot of people away from this game is the jankiness. Melee kind of feels like crap, and the whole game sort of feels weightless unless you're shooting a zombie in the head. However, a lot of that seems to be fixed in the sequel that is coming out the day I release this video. No More Room in Hell is also a free game on Steam, so you lack a valid reason to not try it. Counter-Strike Source. I don't have a segue for this. I know Counter-Strike isn't exactly the first thing you think of when you think zombie survival game, but hear me out. Counter-Strike Source, being a very community-run game, has allowed people to make all kinds of game modes. One of my favorite being Zombie Escape or Zombie Survival. Difference between the two being, in Zombie Escape, you usually are running through some kind of course, breaking things in your path, trying to avoid player zombies following you. Where in Zombie Survival, everyone's dropped into a map and told good luck. All of the footage I got for this part is recorded on the group servers run by a group called Elite Hunters. Go check them out, they run really good servers. But CSS Zombies is one of those things that is just so simple, yet so much fun. Obviously, every server you're going to join is different, that's just how CSS is nowadays. On the server I was on, everything was very simple, and I love it. If you're a zombie, you hit someone with your knife, they become a zombie. It's that simple. If someone kills a zombie, they turn back into a human. It's like a tug-of-war of trying to get everyone to one side. Obviously, with things being that simple, there's not a whole lot I can talk about. Obviously, there's some servers that have things like perk setups, zombie abilities, even custom loadouts for survivors. I mean, obviously you can play these kind of game modes in CSGO, but, if you have CSS, I don't know why you wouldn't, I would definitely give this a try. It's super fun. Try and find a server you enjoy with some funny people on them. It's a blast. Fun fact, the bots in Counter-Strike actually inspired another Source Engine zombie game, but it sucks, and I hate it! So I'm gonna talk about Garrys Mod. Specifically the zombie survival game mode. If Contagion was my second favorite thing on this list, this is my first. I remember coming home from school in 5th grade, immediately getting on Garrys Mod and looking for a zombie survival server hosting this one mall map that I found specifically for this video. Seriously, I have so many memories from playing this, it's nuts. Zombie survival has 2 teams against each other, the zombies and the humans. Just like with Counter-Strike Source, literally every server has a different version of zombie survival. So what I might say might be different for whatever server you play on. But usually, survivors gather around one crystal or one generator or one of the labeled objects in the map and begin building barricades around it. Either then or right before then, People usually use the buy menu to buy items to start with. This usually includes guns, items to help teammates, and hammers. Hammers are used to nail down physics props to kind of create a barricade between survivors and zombies. Over the course of the game, the zombie team unlocks different kinds of zombies, such as fast zombies, different kinds of head crabs, and boss units. Some servers have a gene mechanic in place where when you do things as a zombie, you can upgrade those zombies. Survivors usually win after surviving a certain amount of rounds, and zombies usually win once they, well, as you could guess, kill everybody. I know I'm not really doing it justice. I'm pretty sure modern zombie survival has an entire skill tree system now, but it's one of those things you really just have to experience to get. If you can get to a good server with a good group of people, it is one of the most fun experiences you will have in Gmod. I swear, some of the most fun I've had in Garrys Mod has to be in zombie survival. And you know, I'll say it again, sometimes you get in really good servers. Other times you accidentally join a server from Poland and feel like you're getting DDoS. It's just kind of part of the Gmod experience. If you have Garrys Mod and haven't given zombie survival a chance, I cannot recommend it enough. 11 out of 10. There's probably more games I could talk about, but these are the first ones that I could think of when I thought of zombie games in the Source engine. For example, if I kept talking about Garrys Mod game modes, we'd be here all day. If you can think of any good ones, leave them in the comments and I might make a part 2. Anyway, I'll see you all in the next video I do. I don't know what it's going to be, but it's certainly going to be a video.